Shall we just start at the beginning instead and ask how you first encountered Michel's work, Jamie, and what drew you to it?
Well, the first thing I ever read of his was this story that won the Macallan Scotland on Sunday short story competition in 1996. It was a very strange story about a mother and a daughter called Fish. And I don't know how many of you know it in here. It's in the collection, Some Rain Must Fall. And it was Stephanie who founded Canongate, who was a judge that year, who'd said, you should check out this story. It's pretty, I think it's really good and it's going to win this year. We've already decided that. And so I read it and I thought it was great. And I then think I made a rather half-hearted attempt to try and find out how to get hold of Michel, but didn't really pursue it, as is often the case with me, probably a bit more then than it is now. And it was Judy Moyer, who at the time wasn't working at Canongate, but then subsequently joined Canongate as an employee, who was sitting on a Scottish Arts Council panel, which I think you were on as well, which Michel submitted his work to get a kind of subsistence grant. And it was Judy who called up and said, there's this really exceptional writer. In fact, I think he might have already sent you some stories in. And anyway, to cut a long story short,
I hadn't actually. She said, I think it would be a very good idea if you sent these to Canongate.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was like, you've got to remember, back in 1996, so it's all a bit hazy for me. But what I do remember very, very vividly is getting all these stories in, and on, prompting from Judy, and then from Stephanie, and then Michel writing. Taking these stories back, and I remember finishing the dozen or so stories that he first sent me very early in the morning. It was, and it was a Saturday night, Sunday morning, and it must have been about 5 or something, and I finished the last of these stories. And I had this covering letter from Michel, and it had his telephone number on it, and I was like, well, 5:30, I can't really call someone on a Sunday morning at 5:30, but I had this look completely, I felt I had to call this guy. I just thought these stories were so unusual and so original and just so varied. I was completely intrigued by who had written them. And I think I thought, fuck it, about 7 in the morning, and just thought, I'm calling him, or 7:30, and I called, and much to my surprise and delight, quite promptly, I think Michel picked up the phone, probably thinking, who the hell's calling me at 7:30 in the morning? And I didn't know at this time that Michel absolutely hates the telephone, so it was pretty rare anyway to get him to pick up the phone. And we had a really good chat, and I said, look, I've just finished reading these stories, and I think they're pretty remarkable. It'd be great to publish a book of them. And we talked about, I think, some of the specific stories, and I remember very well asking him kind of, where did you draw these 12 stories from? Were there lots of others that, you could have sent, and was this the 12? Kind of wondering in terms of the collection we try and make. And I remember him saying, I've written about 185, 190 stories. And I was just like, oh my God, this is, for someone who'd not been published before, this is an exceptional situation that I suddenly found myself in. So that's how I first came to read Michel, and what led to us first making direct contact, and subsequently us making him an offer to publish his first collection at Canongate, which we then published in 1998, was when Some Rain Must Fall appeared.